All right. So I've been here talking with my beautiful friend Maja, and we've been having a great conversation as far as New Earth. And is it a new place of existence as far as the physical plane, or is it just a state of being and consciousness evolving that we're really talking about? And I think it's a really good conversation and a really good, not debate, but just opening the dialogue, because this allows us to ask the higher questions in the future from the arcturians or the collectives that maybe can help people get a better understanding. And this isn't going to be, I'm not going to do the video. So I'll have something, it'll just be our audio of our conversation. So we don't have to worry about the way we look. So if you want to introduce yourself a little bit and before we start dialoguing, yeah, just say like who you are and where you're living and yeah,
Wow.
I caught her off guard.
Yeah, you did because that's
Just a
that's a
quick.
very big question. I ask myself every day who I am. And now what comes to my mind, I'm a dreamer. I'm a dreamer of a different world, of a world based on love. And in my little processes, I heard that's kind of a 5D New Earth place that is coming soon. And in the meantime, I have a website that is always in progress, and I'm doing BQH with Carrie and some friends. And I am a energy junkie. I love playing with energy, doing meditations with energy and colors, and playing with energy in movement as well. Either is channel movement or yoga or dance. So I don't know. This is who I am today in this
Yeah,
moment.
I love her, and I love you. I love the way you see the world and the way you giggle at, and you see the polarities of everything, and you just observe them and point them out. And I always appreciate your perception of the world and our conversations. We get really into it, and we both hold each other very accountable in the conversations to have a polarizing dialogue sometimes. And this was one of them today in a loving space. And it was about, uh, I've done many channelings where New Earth is shown as a new place. And from what I've been, the perception of it is that New Earth is basically like the Earth is a cell essentially, and it splits into two. So you have a 3D version of you have a 5D version. So technically it is a new place of existence. Um, and the way I've seen it in channeling sessions is it looks very different, like very bioluminescent in all the colors. It's just a very different looking place. And Maja was saying that she feels like it's just a state of consciousness that we're evolving to. So can you explain a little bit more about that?
I, yeah, so there's so many school of thought and so many theories. One of them is that everything is a hologram, everything is energy and is created by our consciousness. So then, we are right now from a different point of view in a very dense consciousness, and we are kind of working our way out of clearing everything that is dense and having more of a crystalline body, and also accessing different information. And also another thing that has been happening, there are a lot of kids nowadays that come and they already have these beautiful insights and abilities. So my belief is that we're still going to have this earth, but we are going to be able to actually modify it. So Carrie was saying that how we're going to clean the waters. And I was saying, how do we self-heal? The same, like we can together maybe create the technology or I know, maybe use crystals or just meditate on cleaning the waters of this earth. So I think we are going to reach a point in evolution where we are going to do that. We are going to and clean the waters, and I think we are going to evolve together with Mother Earth, with plants and animals. We are going to have different species. Uh, uh, I think our Earth will have different colors as well. The more we change and the more we project them and work with them, like a new way of being. And the same way, for example, you see a person that is very upset and they're like very dim and dark and heavy, and you see somebody that almost like it's almost illuminated, and they have a different density and this different radiance, the same way we will be, and I think the same way the earth will be and the waters will be, and creatures in the water. So this is where we're kind of at now. And of course, from I think it's still very hard to grasp around the head around multidimensionality and timelines and possibility. So when we change our consciousness and we start creating a new earth, and I don't know how many other timelines can be in the same time. There's still another like 3D version of the earth possible. But I think like as long as you're going on this trajectory, that is I think it's a collective trajectory to move to a different earth and a different frequency along with Gaia. This will happen. We will be different beings. We'll have different access, and we will create different technologies, and technologies that I don't think they involve the laptop. And we will use our body and our consciousness and the elements to just create new.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, I can definitely see that perspective and understand it. And what you said to me actually resonated about the because like what I brought up was the Fukushima and the radiation in the waters. But I thought honestly, like when a human being has cancer, not that that is a way I would treat it, but they would give radiation to kill that cancer. So ultimately, like was Fukushima something that was actually planned to somehow kill like a cancer within Gaia or within humanity? I don't know. Like it's all seems like it could be perceived as something bad, but it also could be something purposeful that was utilized, like how they did it. Um, which is always a curious question. But as far as like with the channelings we just did on the Greys, it was very surprising when they said the reason why so many people have contracts for the hybrid human program with the Greys is that the Greys are us in the future, and they've lost the capabilities to reproduce because they were too technologically advanced in like they made it seem like very sterile, like stainless steel kind of cold. Like that's how they were showing me the energy of technology being too technology advanced. Like it was very cold and sterile. And why when they utilize that technology versus the technologies of their bodies and intimacy and like really about connection between beings, like in just touch, just hugging, just having that connection, that when they became so off balanced with technology that their bodies stopped producing because the human connection even kept the rhythm of reproduction going. And how they were from a timeline of Atlantis when Atlantis wasn't destroyed, and that's why they came back here for these timelines, to have these, to give humans that aha moment of what trajectory we're on. Like the reason they're showing us right now is because we're on a trajectory that could be the timeline where we stop reproducing.
Yeah,
Boom, just drop that
a
on
joke
you.
here.
Huh?
Living in Central America, I think we're still very far away from that. uh, you know, uh, uh, it's just because there are there are a lot of people that are still very sexual. So I think they're still going to be like, so we have some time. But when it comes to technology, uh,
Well, I think that's why they're having his course correct now.
uh, mm, because well, what is now? What is then? What is time?
It's a
it's
big
all
question.
perfect. It's all perfect. So, the fact that they are here to tell us that is, it's like, it's not. I don't think it's going to happen. Um, and the fact, like, I think also in the past there were a lot of predictions where we could have, been exterminated. We would have had a third world war and a lot of things, or even, another like virus. But sometimes when you have this information, you can it's actually for the good of not going there, a little bit of, let's say, tough love that we were talking before, right? So I definitely don't think that. And like, um or I believe so much in love and the frequency of love, and that we are made of that, and that in the end this will prevail, that I don't think will be possible. I would say so many things around that. Well, first of all, um the greatest technology is us, is within us, is in our DNA, like. And I'm sure, like, if if not my generation, the new generation, they're already unlocking this, and they're already like mind blowing. Some adults are like what they're doing. I just heard a story of a 2-year-old girl that went into a crop circle and just did a meditation, and then after, and made everybody do some things, and then after that she just started playing with something. So you
Oh,
don't
that
you
was
don't
the
even.
Matthias, right? The Matthias
Yeah,
interview.
yeah,
That was
yeah,
good.
yeah. Um, Yeah, so this is one of the reasons why I actually don't like working in tech anymore, because I just don't believe in tech. I believe so much in our capabilities as humans, and I believe in the organic ascensions, and going through this shadow work of actually finding our own true power to be able to create this new earth we are envisioning. And for example, no matter what, even as somebody who loves working with energy, and I know I can, you can be in a meditation and you can feel everything, or you can heal anything, but at one point nothing compares to human touch and a hug.
Hmm.
And I think you channel something around that. So we are humans, we have a body, and love and touch and real, like, things. We are here to actually bring that frequency in a body on an earth, and it's ingrained in us. And I don't think we're going to become so disillusional that we are going to completely ditch everything. We're going to go all tech, and we're not going to hug on or reproduce or anything. And of course, at one point, once we play the 5D game, we're going to have our bodies were not going to reproduce anymore. But
Yeah.
that, is like so far ahead. We're not even like close to the new earth. So this is like what I kind of understood and can feel, that is, once you raise your frequency above 5D, and okay, you're not going to like reproduce, but yeah, that's another story for another time. And actually, I was talking with a friend, and then she sent me a video around um, art and minimalism. And the idea is that, and that made a connection with something that, from a lesson from Vedanta. Like, the idea is that we are meant to connect with the divine, and before everything got like really inverted, let's say, in a nice way, um, everything was reminding us of God. You had statues and music and nature, and everything was connecting you to divinity. And technology, like, let's say, like a bench without a shape, or a building without a shape, a furniture without a shape, everything is so dry and lifeless that it makes you forget about divinity. So the idea is that, and we don't feel good. We feel alone and separate. And then uh, I think we're going to remember our way to like art, and like do like, put some little flowers around the bench, or anything that will make things more beautiful, because we thrive in beauty, we thrive in the divine, and we are creative people. We cannot let, like, no matter like what technology can do for us and AI, nothing compares with love and creativity. And we are that. We are creation and love. And yeah.
Right. And I think that's like programming beliefs, right? So I'm, I've never been one for the cold minimalist, but I can understand why it's appreciated by people because it makes sense. It makes mathematical sense. It there's straight lines, there's right angles for people. It's simple and it gives comfort in they understand it and it makes sense and they can logically compute it, like equate it. But with like divinity, it's sometimes to people who they can't feel like the creativeness and the divinity and the what may seem to them like chaos is not comfortable because they don't understand it and they can't equate it. And so I can understand why the two kind of serve the purpose as far, but I mean, for me, I'm always like, I need color, I need flowers, I need art, I need, if it's my children's art, I'm that much more happy because I love that, that's what's speckled on my walls. And no, but I understand that both. I understand why that would play a part. But I really feel like at this time, it's been shown more and more that we are shown Atlantis and Lemuria and the lessons learned because can't both have a space and balance in both actually create more harmony, just like the cold art versus the divine, nature, like can't both play a place in harmony and can't like at the thought process of Atlantis and the thought process of the collectives of Lemuria and how they operated, can't they both serve a very valid purpose in harmony? And how do we apply that moving forward?
Well, I think this is what we're meant to do anyways, no? But the idea would be to do it in a more balanced way. I think, again, not forgetting who we are, because mm, in the end, what happened was an excess of masculine energy, um, and from Atlantis, and maybe a lack of masculine energy from Lemuria, and
Right.
also use of technology, or again, because if it's, I guess it's kind of in life, if we forget the divine in us, everything around us breaks because we um we cut the connection to source. So this happened then, and at a maybe a micro level, we find this in our lives each time we do that. And it seems that we are, speaking of support, we have all of this support, from, I know, from our higher selves, from other beings and galactics, just to go forward with that. I know, because we have been playing for a long, again, what is time? We have been playing for some timelines or cycles or whatever, and now we're in the one that we are going to do it. And again, that doesn't mean no. Okay, maybe you cannot be 100% sure, but even if you know the outcome, that doesn't make it still easy.
Right.
Even if you have a reading where at one point you are going to be like super happy or whatever, you get everything you want in this life, and now you're like a really big mess. It still hurts and it's still awful, and you're still struggling, and you don't know how you're going to get there. You just hope and pray and listen to your heart and your guidance and your guides and unicorns and angels and whatever comes, or the wind or the elements, or or the plants.
Right. Because how many times do you like do a session where you're channeling and you go back and listen to it? I mean, you said this today and you're like, wow, I need to listen to myself. And, I mean, yes, it's our channeling, but it's their information. Right. But at the end of the day, like, I mean, I had to be reminded of my balance in this all today, having a 12-year-old daughter and just dealing with being who I am, showing up in this space with all of the knowledge I've been given. I can be taken right back to, old patterns of behaviors really quick by a preteen, man. They will teach you how unbalanced you are quicker than you know it. With one dirty look or whatever, so but I also like my pride is today I didn't mom guilt myself for being human and having an human experience and a response. I just came back to balance really a lot quicker and like moving forward. And like we learned in the session the other day, like karma is just your own judgment. So it's like, oh, not going to judge myself. We're going to move through this and just learn from it. Um we're given such heightened, enlightened information, but application and being consciously aware in those moments is like maybe a struggle. I don't know. I don't think so, but it's just like that's what it's all about.
Yeah. And it's funny, right? Because you have all of these acts, you have all of, I don't know, like how you feel. Like for me, sometimes it feels that, I have all of this information ingrained in me, and I feel like all the time I'm remembering, and sometimes it feels like speaking of all the sessions, I'm in that flow, and sometimes it's just not there. And you struggle and you forget, and but still at the end of the day, uh, what needs to happen happens. And a lot of the times, personally, when I lost faith, or I think like, why is something happening, or why is something not happening, or and death has been a really big theme in my life. Um, for, um, I know that if I need to leave, I'll leave. If I don't need to leave, I'm not going to leave. And each time I am protected. I just remember, and my ego just dies, and I'm full of gratitude. So I had a few moments in my life, and then they in flight sports. um so where like I don't know how I nothing happened to me. Like the 2 days ago I fell on on my skateboard. I was a little I was not okay, and I went out on the road to decompress, and I was very sad, and maybe I've been sad for too long. I was thinking about my mom, and then there was a rock in the road, and I just flew, and nothing my I didn't like just I can you can barely see. I barely have a bruise, anything, and I was like, and even my headset was all right, everything was all right. And another time that was like more serious was the surfing, and it was really bad. And I saw you have these fiberglass fins, and I saw one hitting my forehead, and I got out of the water, and that was perfectly fine. Nothing touched me. Like, and those are the moments like, wow, okay, you know what? I'm grateful for this life, and I should not mess around, and just know that everything happens for a reason, and trust more and love more and open my heart more. And and I know sometimes if he's meant, and I'm and I don't know, I don't want to be, I don't know if it's I don't know why. Honestly, I don't know why. Maybe it's the purpose for me to be here, and sometimes these things don't happen, and maybe it's a soul choice. My soul wants to be here, and when somebody's not here, their soul doesn't want to be there, and there shouldn't be any judgment. And if you are still here and you're still alive, then you should trust it, and just be grateful and do your best, and and spread love more.
Yeah, I mean it starts with self. I mean, we need to really love ourselves, let ourselves have a human experience, even with all this knowledge. We just have to like, with the understanding that like we want to evolve. So those evolving moments will happen, and it's just, I think just a self-love. Like we want to give love so much, but if you don't have it to in the tank to give to others, it's really there's no point. That's just masochistic. Is I think I nailed that word finally. But I mean, that's just like self-torture. Like your intentions are good, but like, man, I want to burn out on both ends. Like try to send love to others when you don't have it for yourself. Like that's just not going to ever work out to be a successful scenario,
Yeah.
you know. And
Yeah.
so yeah, we got to really fill that tank and then we can share it with others and just allow ourselves to have human experiences is a big one. You know, it was one thing to question for knowledge for forward momentum, but it's another thing to question so you can just either obsess about it or self guilt or self judge. Um, like that doesn't solve any problem.
Yeah. No, and you make a really, really important point, and I think this is one of like the biggest things I'm finding out now is that like if like you as you say you cannot give anything from an empty tank. So and you cannot, I think, create it artificially as well. Or I don't know how to anyways. And I think that and I wasn't giving that example with those singers. The moment you find that love in you and you do whatever makes you feel happy or joyful, and then you're just feeling the tank, and it just radiates from you.
Hmm.
And something that I heard, and I like something that I remember I want to be is I want to be. I don't want to like do. I don't want to like prove. I want my energy to speak for itself rather than me. Hey, I'm here to spread. No, I want to embody it because or just maybe as a remembering. And you know in my jokes, I was like, I think if I reincarnate, I reincarnate as a kid because they don't have so much karma, and they already remember what they are, what the soul makeup. So it's hard, like for me it's still hard to like drop all of the programming of like self-pleasing and being in an old way of being and embodying more that I am. And somehow I feel like I know I am, that I'm so afraid of being what I am, that just because it's different.
Right. And I think that like one of my favorite quotes was I think it was Eleanor Roosevelt when she says like do one thing every day that scares you. And I think that's very profound because you're only afraid of it because you know how awesome you are and how powerful you are. Like you wouldn't be afraid of something that was meek or mild or I think you're only afraid because you know truly what that power is. And it's like you've never experienced that on this plane before. It's like, what if I do show up every day, powerful, confident, loving myself, heart open, holding space for others, creative, co-creating my reality, and it actually manifesting exactly all the high abundant things that I
Mm.
actually want. Like that power can be intimidating. So it's like, so if you do something and you step into your empowerment and bravery every day, one thing every day that just the resistance of the fear, like that's going to be amazing when you finally like step into that full capacity, but it also can be intimidating.
Yeah. Oh
Like,
wow. It well, I feel like this opens up a new level of discussion. Because
mhm,
for example, I know somebody like they were just doing it like especially like physical challenges like they were afraid of, like um and they'll be like super successful of just like doing all crazy things, jumping from there, doing that somewhere, like just overcoming fear after fear after fear. And at one point, like after doing that, the fear was uh just to be themselves and be vulnerable. So it's crazy sometimes, like how many layers fear has.
mhm,
And also another layer to it was um some fears that, and this was, channeling as well, like from like uh your parents side and like friends and all the programming we have taken on, and we need to like clear somehow. And for example, even if you're talking about abundance, this has been like a really big issue in my life, and I have to, over and over, in everything I do, I have to like notice those belief systems and try to change them and like and sometimes one of the greatest fears is actually overcoming of like facing a fear and then failing at the fear, but then not being afraid of trying again. So you know mm, fears are, I think, is are have like so many non, like it's like the whole thing.
Yeah, I think the fear of failing is one, but I think the fear of success too, because that changes who you are
Oh yeah.
in a way, in a belief.
Or not, you shouldn't, like, you know what
Well,
I
it
mean?
shouldn't, but I'm saying, but our human ego programming, right?
Right.
Like, okay, so now how do I show up in the world every day? Like, okay, so what if I am this successful, what I my idea of success is? Now the expectation is I show up in the world every day successful like that. So what if I fail, even what if I have a bad day and I'm not that successful now? How scary is that? Like there's all these different layers to it. Like once you reach a level, like what if I decide to become human again and have something, a trigger point come back up, right? Like oh no, I'm on this platform now and this, so it's a little scary. I don't know if I really want to step into that power. But once you step into it, you become more of an observer of like, yeah, I'm here, but I also am human. So it's going to be okay either way. So it's like, I don't know. I think the fear is also of failing, but also succeeding and what that means now for how you exist in the world and how you're perceived in the world.
So speaking of that, today I was I just remember one of like my my today's epiphanies was like, even in my family, we were not afraid of suffering, but we're afraid of being happy.
Mm.
So when you have this pattern, sometimes, you just like, you have like yourself. I realize I'm self-sabotaging sometimes. Like we're talking about, that mind that comes in when like things are flowing, and that's this is no maybe maybe it's a soul contract, maybe, my family or all of it, right? But I realize, like, sometimes it's actually that fear of, just being okay. You don't know, it's not familiar for you, and like, oh, I think I better like suffer because it's like where I know, because I don't think I can be okay, and if I'm going to be okay and I'm going to lose it, I'm going to suffer like a lot. And then, you know I created those situations. Like I've been like I took like leaps of faith, I overcome fears, I'm happy, and then boom, I fuck it up. Because, there's fear, like, "Ugh, no, I'm not good enough. I don't, I'm not grounding myself. I still didn't find that self-love that, like, makes me go further and further, and like, I can take this space. I'm okay. I'm not wrong in what I'm doing, or whatever, like whatever the mind comes in and says from wherever it heard, either the family, the TV, the friends, the school, everywhere.
Right. I mean, and that's completely, I mean, I've experienced that. I understand it. I mean, I chose throughout relationships of being kind of more abusive in pattern, codependency in pattern, because that is something I understood. That is something that made sense to me. My programming, it was comfortable. I knew how to navigate in that chaos. But I feel like, isn't that like being in a subconscious, like, way of being versus a conscious way of living? Like, I think in the place of suffering, you're operating from subconscious programming. When you choose to be a conscious creator and empowered in that in your life, you choose to thrive and you make a conscious decision to create that reality. And I think they're two different existences. And it's just about like once you consciously start becoming aware, you thrive because that's what you authentically within your soul knows is the way we're supposed to live.
I know. And actually, I started going back around 3, 4 years ago, where I reached that mindset, and on my way, like, because you reach that mindset, you want to create some things, and I, all of the situations and experiences just kind of brought me, like, I didn't, I know, just brought me in a place where I stopped believing that. And now, for example, I'm that session when I'm just remembering, actually, you can work with this belief system. You can become your conscious creator without any guilt, or like, because sometimes, no, maybe, maybe I need, like, it's still that belief, or and it's kind of a little bit weird because we also had those channelings, like, you have to suffer and go through a lot to have like a certain mastery or to reach somewhere. And then, like, still, aren't we moving? Well, some people would say new, like, 5 new earth is already here, like, and that shouldn't be through suffering, should be through love. So, and I was also thinking around, even with BKH, right? And how can I use it for myself, or maybe in future sessions, to identify those things better and be able to apply them better in our lives going forward.
Absolutely. And I think that, I know a lot of BQH practitioners, and especially like you and I, we do ask those questions in sessions because it allows our subconscious mind to step back and allow the higher information to come through. And I think eventually we're just going to be channeling the higher level information. The more and more we create those connections with our teams and our guides and our higher self, we'll just naturally, we don't have to go into sessions. It'll naturally just be a connection that's kind of solidified and locked in. And we'll be consciously creating from a higher perspective. And, but I do know that when we go in and get that information, they give us the big aha information and understandings and energy releases we need. And, I mean, it's all just so beautiful, but it's just a matter of us applying the information. Like, it's almost like they're like, well, if you don't apply this information and you don't listen to it, like, why are we going to give you build upon that information?
Yeah.
You're still at lesson one. Why are we going to give you lesson five if you haven't even been trying to consciously engage with lesson one?
No. No. How many lessons do we actually need?
We'll ask in a channeling.
Maybe just me trying to bypass,
It's
but
like
like,
those kids in school when they ask what their favorite subject is, and they're like, recess. It's a time for recess yet.
but like, okay, I am in a place where I think I think, well, I am surrendering, and I think I become like, so, like, way more resilient, but still, like, are we still meant to have all of these struggles? And okay, like, okay, maybe, okay, December, fine. Well, but maybe after December, if we go well, like, because we both attuned to 5D Earth and frequency, and it's not like that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's beautiful. I mean, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And but I mean,
But I'm honestly not trying to bypass, but I am still wondering, like, what is it? Like, is this our okay? I did hear that we're actually moving faster than was projected, and still, like, are we meant still to? We still do have to do a lot of clearing. Like, isn't still the frequency aren't there here?
it's not
Maybe,
our clearing. We're clearing on behalf of the collective for a lot of things. So we're kind, you know what I mean? Like, so
maybe
if
I'm
it
taking
were,
it personally.
if you were thinking of it, if it's just your stuff, like I'm sure you would have been done by now. But I think that by us all taking on from the community pool of the collective's lessons and stuff that needs to be released, like we're taking on more than we would have in an individual lifetime. But that's because we take a contract of service. And so, but we can't even help with the collective and move it along if we're not doing our own stuff. Like if we're not even aligning for our own stuff that we've accrued, how can we even take on and help with the bigger earth project of the collective stuff? So that should encourage us more to just get through our own shit so that we can help the Earth Project so we can get to 5D quicker. Like it really, if we want to be part of the solution, then we need to be part of the solution. If we're okay with waiting and just letting it all play out organically and knowing that it'll happen, okay, it'll happen. But like if we're feeling impatience or desire to be at that place, so let's all start pulling some of our weight and let's all start helping with the collective as well. Like
Mm. So, like I really love a quote by Buckminster Fuller. And so, you don't create the new by fixing the old. So this is trying to, like find my way around. Like, do you actually try to fix the old? Shouldn't just create the new already? Like, can we just like clear it out? Bye.
so maybe can you understand why maybe not ascending on this earth actually makes sense and why creating a
Come
new
back.
earth and transferring or just there like makes some sense if that's a solution.
Hmm.
There's the bypass.
No, but it's like you're talking about cancer, right? So, and now so cancer, right? You can radiate it, you can do operations, or you can, I
Cut it
don't want
out.
to, but you just go do some quantum meditations, and boom, you're going to like heal, right? Or haven't, yeah, or do, whatever needs. So you can actually have, almost like instantaneous healing from cancer. Like there's a lot of people who did that either through meditation, either through a near death experience. Mhm. So maybe that's the flash is going to come. I know, but yeah. So
Maybe the flash is just a big laser, like a big operating tool. Because they use all those lasers within surgeries now and with dermatology and beauty and like maybe the flash is just a big laser. Um, but I mean, it does make me think like, okay, so now if our collective consciousness guides it, is going to a new planet our way of bypassing and almost more of an Atlantean type of energy of creating something to avoid something else? Or is the collective consciousness of believing that it's here on Earth and the Earth will heal if we're in harmony and balance? Is that use like more of the Lemurian energy? Like, or is it a hybrid and it's both?
hmm, why not
Which kind
even
of
like okay? Aren't we even? I think even Atlanteans and Lemurians they were made out of other races, right? And we know we do have. I think we have a lot of races in our DNA.
well, what I'm saying is the energy. Like Atlantis used the crystals for technology and for kind of more power and to speed up evolution. Like they were really big on like hybrids, creating hybrid species, speeding up evolution, using the crystals for power of that intention. And Lemuria had the energy where it worked more in harmony with nature and utilized the like it worked in harmony with the crystals, not trying to use them for specific things, but for like a natural rhythmic evolution. So I'm saying like there are different energies and what they and ended up on our timeline that we're experiencing that time that Atlantis basically created a nuclear war. They were upset with Lemuria for not helping them learn how to use the crystals. And so they tried it using their technology and it created a nuke basically and blew up the two civilizations.
Mhm. Mhm. So
Another
what?
topic. I think that's another one we can dive into another time because that's just a bigger can of worms.
Yeah, or I don't know. Maybe we'll see very soon. I was also curious just because I I know if you are interested or I don't know if you had because I don't know all of your channelings. Um I'm still, or maybe I'm just trying to justify my way of thinking. But I'm still, I would like to ground more ideas of, uh, like more of a new Earth and different ways of being. And I know you've been on a lot of other planets and connecting with other beings. And for example, like, do you think, is there any, are we, when it comes to new Earth, are we going to have any resemblance for what, for example, what's in the Arcturus or Pleiades? Or because, for example, I'm curious, for example, like another thing, like we are putting so much sometimes attention to even what we dress, or like even jewelry, and then still put so much, like, we don't conceive around, and living without money or like borders or anything. And for me, all of these things, I don't see them in the new Earth. And I was curious if um you had, uh experiences of how other races live on other planets or anything around that.
They haven't given me specifics as too much as to like the more daily life. I just more or less a feeling like I like on New Earth, like I was shown that you could see people's energy more, like you could see what they're feeling and use telepathy and understand where beings were at. And almost like if you saw them, you would intuitively want to help them in a way. So it was like a very like see a need, fill a need type of society. And it was all from love. And so it wasn't like there wasn't like, oh, that guy's having a bad day. It was like, okay, what can we do to help support the experience they want to have?
Mhm.
So it was very different of how like it didn't feel like an ego existed there. It was not so much you needed to identify with self, like it was just you identified self in everything.
Yeah. And like when it comes to other alien races, did you feel like there's any similarity, or do you know how they live or anything? I know you've
Uh,
been a little bit curious as well.
yeah, I mean, I've been to different planets at different things. I know hive mentality is very different. Like hive mentality is like they all collectively decide on what they want to achieve or do, and they all just work towards that.
Mhm.
Like it was very just like, it's not like one queen bee decides. It's like they all collectively decide what they're working towards and they work towards that. So it was very different of how that mentality. But yeah, I mean,
How do they deal with resources? And like, I don't think like there's any other race that actually destroy the planet, or maybe a more advanced race, right? That like we do, or we think that
that's one
we're.
question I always have is like, why on the higher levels are there war? And so maybe I'm gonna have to ask that. Like, if they're so enlightened and they're so higher dimensional, like, why are they fighting each other? So I'm gonna have to ask that one about in maybe tomorrow in channeling, I'll ask that. And because I mean it's just always maybe they'll explain it to us, maybe they're gonna give it to us on a fundamental level that we can understand. But I think that's really important question to ask. But they seem to understand that they have a purpose and like it's not emotional attachments to the purpose that they're like they're things they want to experience that they're I've even been on like a planet where they're training us military wise to come to Earth, like it was like a training planet, and it was very like there was an emotion there. It was very just like this is what you do, this is why you do it, and everyone just did their job. So very interesting.
By the way, did you see Soul, the movie, the
No,
animation?
no, I'll watch it. But I
Because
wanted
I'm
to,
curious if there resembles with where you have been, because it was, yeah. So
I'm gonna have to look at it, but I'm gonna close down this. We're gonna still talk afterwards, but I just wanted to close out the recording by just
yeah.
thanking you so much for sharing and being authentic and creating these dialogues with me and just, bouncing off ideas. I appreciate you so much and our friendship.